Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. We begin with an update on the Trump administration's mass deportation campaign. Since it began, there has been a big increase in the number of deportation flights. KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis says more and more of those flights are coming from San Diego's military airports.
If you live in Miramar, you're probably familiar with this sound. That's an F-18 Super Hornet. And this is what one of them sounds like flying right over your house. David Kennedy has lived under the flight path for more than a decade.
So I've always kind of liked planes, and I live right next to Miramar, so I've gotten really used to listening to them and knowing what an F-18 sounds like, what a C-130 sounds like. And about a year ago, I started noticing a plane that just sounded different.
That different sound wasn't a hypersonic jet or some new top-secret military prototype. It sounded like a regular commercial airplane, the kind you'd hear at San Diego International Airport.
So I started looking out my window and, just saw these commercial flights.
And he did a little digging. Noticed that these flights were going to Mexico, Panama, even India. He looked up the private carrier and realized that it does a lot of work for immigration and customs enforcement. That's when Kennedy reached out to KPBS and asked us to confirm whether ICE was using MCAS Miramar for deportation flights, which we did by reaching out to Human Rights First, an immigrant rights nonprofit that tracks ICE flights across the country.
The scale has just dramatically picked up in the past year.
Savi Avri runs the organization's ICE Flight Monitor program.
This has been a really important initiative in giving people access to data to understand the scale and the scope of what is going on and how it's affecting local communities.
The Human Rights First data confirmed Kennedy's observations. They documented 85 ICE flights out of MCAS Miramar in 2025. There were 0 in 2024. Of those 85 flights, 53 were deportations, and the rest were to transport detainees to various detention centers within the U.S.
Around July, flights out of there really began to ramp up.
During the second half of 2025, ICE averaged 12 flights out of MCAS Miramar each month. In a statement, the Marine Corps base confirmed that it acts as a location for civilian, military, and federal flights. But they did not comment specifically on the increased flights by ICE. Avri says this is an example of the Trump administration using the country's military infrastructure to advance his mass deportation agenda.
Last fall, what we saw is that some other military airports started also being places where ICE flights were taking off from.
Although San Diego is home to the biggest land border crossing in North America, historically, it has not been a hub for deportation flights. For example, every ICE flight out of San Diego in 2024 was for domestic shuttles, meaning flying detainees to different areas within the U.S. But after Trump took office last year, there were more than 120 deportation flights out of both MCAS Miramar and San Diego International combined.
Under Trump, what's been really striking is that San Diego has actually become a place where deportation flights take off from.
Avri says that the ICE Flight Monitor program will continue to track deportation flights in civilian and military airports. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
I'm Ariella Scalise, and coming up tonight, temperatures drop to the upper 50s under a partly cloudy sky. We will be entering a cooler pattern towards the end of the week, but a warm up just in time for the weekend. A closer look is coming up.
The board also met in closed session to evaluate the performance of his CEO consistent with the government code, and we have 2 items to report. The board voted 8-1 in favor of termination of CEO Moore.
The operator of the Del Mar Fairgrounds ousted its CEO, Carlene Moore, at today's meeting. It came after several people spoke out against Moore during non-agenda public comments, urging the board to fire her.
Longtime staff described their mistreatment under current leadership. Some employees mentioned they simply were waiting for their pensions to vest so that they could retire. Public evidence of Fairgrounds leadership challenges continue to mount.
The 22nd District Agricultural Association voted to fire Moore during a closed session that went on for hours. During her tenure, Moore was accused of rigging the vote for the contract to run the Midway at the San Diego County Fair, and was also accused of obtaining a Paycheck Protection Program loan during the pandemic for the fair, despite not being eligible. The fair paid back $5.6 million to settle the lawsuit. The board appointed Chair Sam Nejabat as interim CEO for 10 days, after which it will then reevaluate the position. It's been more than a year since Grossmont Union High School District trustees voted to eliminate the school's teacher librarian positions. Now KPBS's Elaine Alfaro says former librarians are suing the district for anti-LGBTQ discrimination.
And I hope you can continue to listen and work with this community.
I was surprised and delighted that this might be an opportunity for the librarians, that they might be able to get some justice.
Clarissa McLaughlin is an alum of West Hills High School and a critic of the school board's actions and policies.
I've been really encouraged showing up to these board meetings with so many other people from the area in the district who are affected by these, who have also been willing to say, no, actually, these aren't our values.
The lawsuit claims the board majority have an anti-LGBTQ agenda. The suit specifically named Scott Eckert, Robert Shield, Jim Kelly, and Gary Woods. The suit says, among other things, that the board banned books with LGBTQ content and took adverse employment actions against staff who support LGBTQ students. The trustees did not respond to a KPBS interview request. A district spokesperson said in a statement sent to KPBS, quote, "While GUHSD does not comment on pending litigation, the district will defend itself fully against the claims in the lawsuit through the appropriate legal channels." End quote. Jay Steiger is a parent of students who graduated from the district. He's also a teacher in the Poway district and previously ran for a Grossmont trustee seat in 2024. He worries about the district's future.
So the danger for this district is that you're going to see them expending dollars that could better be spent supporting our students, supporting our staff, doing good things for our schools, for our kids, for our community.
This isn't the first time the district has been sued for LGBTQ discrimination. In recent months, the district agreed to pay a $1.2 million settlement to a former administrator who says she was discriminated against for being a lesbian. Elaine Alfaro, KPBS News.
Another woman has come forward accusing Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell of sexual misconduct. Lana Drewis says she met Swalwell 3 times in 2018 while she was working as a model in Beverly Hills. At their third meeting, she believes that he drugged her and assaulted her.
My delay in taking action against Eric was driven by fear, not doubt. Fear of his political power, his background as an attorney, and his family law enforcement ties. I have never doubted what happened. I stand with the other women who have come forward.
Drewis's attorney said they will be filing a police report now. She says they have text messages, journal entries, and photos they'll be sharing with investigators. Another woman is also speaking out about what she says happened to her after she met Swalwell. Pamela Brown has the story.
He thought that he was untouchable. He didn't care what he was putting out there. He thought that all of these women would stay loyal to him.
Allie Samarco never wanted to go public with her interactions with Congressman Eric Swalwell, but now she sees it as the only way for him to face accountability.
I don't take any pride really in this. I feel like it was the right thing for me to do. I had to do it. And I give a lot of credit to the women that spoke out and told their stories, as horrible it was for them to recollect them. I'm so proud of them for doing that. And I felt like I needed to speak up to validate their experiences.
She first met Swalwell in 2021.
I followed him on Twitter for a long time. I was an admirer of his. I thought he was a great politician, an up-and-coming politician. And I truly never thought he would respond. He had over 1 million followers. And not only did he responded very quickly, and he was very eager to talk to me. And that took me by surprise. He asked me to come to the Capitol to meet him and meet his staff, and he would introduce me to people that would help. I went to the Capitol, and I didn't meet anybody but him. We went into his office, and he closed the door, and it was just the two of us. We talked for 20 minutes, and then after that, I left, and he sent me a text message saying, "Could you feel the tension in the room between us?" So from there, the messages shifted to much more personal, much more inappropriate, and crossing a line.
But he eventually started to text her late at night. In one screenshot she shared with CNN, Swalwell mused if he should, quote, pour a nightcap, and referred to her as, quote, the bad angel tempting me. And in another, he asked for her Snapchat information. That app, often used because of its disappearing message function, was where she said their conversations became inappropriate.
Tell me more about the unsolicited photos he sent you. Yeah, so the messages gradually became more inappropriate, and they became later into the night, times that nobody should be talking to a congressman, or a congressman should be talking to a young girl. And he would say things like, "What are you doing? What are you wearing? Send me a photo of what you're doing right now." And then eventually, one night we were talking, and he just sent me a photo of his genitals.
Unsolicited?
Unsolicited, yeah. And I thought he could help me. I felt like, again, I had just made a huge connection who was interested in helping me, and if I were to push him away in any way, he might not. He might just stop talking to me altogether.
Swalwell denies allegations of sexual misconduct, and in the case of another woman, rape. He announced Monday he plans to resign from Congress and has already suspended his campaign for California governor. He said in a statement, quote, "I will fight the serious false allegations made against me. However, I must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes I did make."
Tell me about the power and balance and what it felt like. It felt huge, insurmountable. He was a national politician who at one point even ran for president, and I was someone just starting in my career. I didn't think that this was someone who would put themselves out there in a way that could be exposed. So I trusted him. I trusted that even though he's saying something that feels a little off, that he knows what he's doing.
Now he dropped out of the race and he's resigned from Congress. What do you say to that?
Because Eric Swalwell ran for governor, that doesn't mean he's immune from the consequences of his actions. He never should have ran for governor to begin with, knowing what he knows. And nobody else is responsible for what happened to him. Eric Swalwell is responsible for Eric Swalwell, not the media, and definitely not the women.
Pamela Brown with that report. Governor Gavin Newsom set a special election for August 18th to fill Swalwell's congressional seat in California's 14th district. I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, the U.S. facilitates talks to try to end the war between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS. San Diego has one ballot measure going before voters this June. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen explains how Measure A aims to address the city's housing and budget crises with a new tax.
According to local tax records, there are more than 5,000 homes in San Diego that are empty for most of the year and are not claimed as the owner's primary residence. These are the homes that Measure A would target with an $8,000 annual tax. They include mansions in La Jolla, downtown condos and high-rise buildings, and more moderately priced homes scattered across the city. Measure A was crafted by City Council member Sean Ela Rivera.
People are being crushed by the cost of housing, and for that to be the reality for so many San Diegans, while over 5,000 homes sit empty for most of the year, there is something that we can do about that, and this is one of the most direct ways that we can address that problem.
Mark Kersey is president of the San Diego County Taxpayers Association, which opposes Measure A. He says San Diego has a long history as a place for vacation homes, and those owners shouldn't be punished with higher taxes.
The overall message here is that this is bad policy, but also from a legal standpoint, this is just, it's poorly timed and we're jumping the gun, asking voters to weigh in on something that could very well be rendered moot and unconstitutional in a very short order.
A judge in San Francisco ruled a similar tax measure there was unconstitutional. That case is currently on appeal. Revenue from Measure A would go to the city's general fund, which supports city services like parks and public safety. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
It has been a slow start to the spring housing season. Typically, more homes come on the market this time of year because buyers and sellers want to move before the start of the new school year. Jen Sullivan explains what's going on with housing.
It's been a sluggish start to the spring housing market. Fewer people appear to be buying homes. Existing home sales dropped 3.6% month over month in March, according to the National Association of Realtors. And the sales slump is happening all over the country.
We just need more inventory to appear on the marketplace.
Lawrence Yoon with the National Association of Realtors says low inventory, high sticker prices, and high mortgage rates are turning away potential buyers.
Home prices are hitting record high levels. The affordability is clearly an issue.
The median existing home sale price in March is up from the year prior, more than $408,000, according to the NAR. So if you're putting down 20%, that means you would need more than $81,000 in cash. And as of last week, the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage was 6.37%, according to Freddie Mac.
We want people's income to be rising above the home price growth, but that can only happen once we have more supply.
Yoon says higher interest rates are also holding back homeowners from selling their homes because they likely bought their current home when mortgage rates were lower.
I thought the mortgage rate would be at 6% for most of this year, but given the global economic circumstances, I have raised the mortgage rate anticipation to 6.5%.
The good news is the spring housing market typically lasts through June, so Yoon says more homes are likely to come on the market. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
A recent survey from Intuit found tough economic conditions like high gas prices and interest rates are causing a generational shift in American households. Here's Michael Yoshida with a look at how stressed out parents are helping dollars make sense to their children.
From wishing they had known more from their own parents to not wanting their kids to make the same money mistakes they made, a growing number of American families are being more transparent about financial decisions and economic realities. Money and family finances going from taboo topics to table talk.
Your parents are having much more transparent conversations about the family finances with kids.
Intuit's Dave Zasada says in a recent survey, 81% of U.S. parents reported current financial stresses made them realize how important it is to teach their kids about money, with 79% saying they are more transparent than their parents were with them, and 71% wanting their kids to avoid mistakes they made.
They're finding just everyday real-world examples that they can use to start conversations. That could be as simple as we're going to the grocery store, we need to talk about wants and needs.
The shift happening as a new generation is entering the conversation.
Gen Alpha is influencing billions in household spending today.
PwC's Allie Furman says this group, with the oldest entering high school and youngest still in strollers, is often criticized for how much time they spend in front of device screens. But that's missing the point and their impact.
They learned how to tap a screen and how to put things into a cart before they could walk. many of them. So commerce is as natural to them as running water is. It's just part of their flow.
Online shopping carts are becoming the new family group chat, where wants are expressed, negotiations happen, and purchases are made with or without parents.
Gen Alpha is not waiting for purchasing power. They already have it. They're already earning income, developing brand loyalty well before high school. And they're already buying things when their parents aren't looking.
And on that point, in their recent Gen Alpha survey, PwC found that about 1 in 4 kids say they use shopping apps or shop online to buy items without their parents knowing. In Washington, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
And we are still keeping an eye on local gas prices. Today, the average cost for a gallon of regular gas dropped for the 6th consecutive day to $5.90. Oil and gas prices aren't just impacting drivers. According to the International Air Transport Association, the price of jet fuel has doubled from February to March. As a way to offset those costs, airlines like Delta, JetBlue, United, and Alaska Airlines are all hiking up baggage fees. The price of flights are also going up. Our media partner KGTV spoke to a travel agent that says despite this, travel plans haven't slowed down.
We are seeing a lot more of that, what would be a 2 to 3 hour road trip turning into, well, I could take a 2 to 3 hour plane ride and be much further in the country and check out something that we haven't seen before.
And Tiana Sullivan says the ideal time to book and get a deal domestically is 2 months, and internationally, that would be 3 months. She also recommends those booking price your trips purchase travel insurance.
Let's walk through those weather headlines as we are tracking some changes here with temperatures kind of fluctuating. First, it's going to be the cooling Thursday here, especially inland as those gusty winds pick up. But then we'll see a change in the wind direction. An offshore flow is going to start to bring warmer temperatures here by Friday and a warmer weekend ahead as winds become a bit lighter. A cool night tonight. Mount Laguna down to 39, Borrego Springs down to 51, Oceanside down to 49, San Diego 57, and Chula Vista, your temperatures drop into the 50s under a partly cloudy sky. Wednesday's a gorgeous day. Outdoor plans, travel, all should be good to go. No precipitation expected. We head a little bit further north as that next storm's been impacting northern parts of California, Washington, and Oregon with some snow across the Cascades. We'll be getting into some cooler temperatures on the way. But as for Wednesday, sunshine brings us to 85 in Borrego Springs and 56 in Mount Laguna. Ramona is 76 degrees, Oceanside 71, and Chula Vista temperatures into the lower 70s with a lot of sunshine to end of the week. Here's that strong front, and that's going to bring the return of snow showers, especially back across the northern Rockies as we head into the end of the week. We'll get some cooler temperatures, but not much in the way of any kind of precipitation. All right, so we watch our cool down here Wednesday and Thursday along the coast. Temperatures hover around 70 before we rebound Friday into Saturday, and then Sunday a little bit of a dip in temperatures, but mostly sunny and rather nice. Taking a look at the 5-day outlook. Inland, sunny and 75 on Wednesday. Clouds increase on Thursday as temperatures drop, and then we heat back up Friday through the weekend, staying rather pleasant through Sunday, although temperatures drop back to the upper 70s. The mountain forecast, not great the next couple of days. It's cool tomorrow with sunshine, but the wind picks up Wednesday, ushering in colder air by Friday, but more pleasant by the weekend. And even the desert, you'll see a dip in temperatures. That comes on Friday before we're back to 90 degrees on Sunday. For KPBS News, I'm Ariella Scalise.
A new report shows why 5 species native to California are struggling to migrate within the state and what's needed to help them. KPBS environment reporter Tammy Murga says it features bighorn sheep stuck between the border wall and Interstate 8.
Earlier this year, Sam Trezona followed wildlife biologists and advocates looking for bighorn sheep near the Imperial County and Mexico border. He's been documenting their work to save bighorn sheep from drivers speeding on Interstate 8.
Animals need room to roam. They need to be able to access their water, their food, their mates. And our roads, our giant highways, our cities have completely demolished that ability to move across the road. And one solution to this is to build wildlife crossings.
Trezona is a wildlife advocate with Environment California Research and Policy Center. He says the state is designing a wildlife crossing to help sheep cross safely, but construction funding is still needed. It's not the only one. Dozens of other crossing projects across California also need funding. And funding is only one of the challenges to bring these projects to fruition.
There's also a lack of coordination between state agencies and a lack of data. For funding, of the 144 projects that Caltrans has identified as priority.
To bring attention to these gaps, Environment California launched an interactive report today. It's called Reconnecting California's Wildlife. It explains why bighorn sheep and others are struggling to migrate, and it shows what's needed to help them.
Wildlife crossings can reduce wildlife vehicle collisions by over 90%, which is really important for the endangered peninsular bighorn sheep, where they are being hit at a pretty high rate on I-8.
Trezona says he hopes the report will urge state and federal agencies to fund more wildlife crossing projects. Tammy Murga, KPBS News.
Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. Social media and video games picked up on features invented by the gambling industry to keep people playing digital slot machines. NPR's Morning Edition explores how it's contributing to compulsive use, particularly in kids. In San Diego, Mayor Todd Gloria is set to unveil new city budget. KPBS Midday Edition will break down the spending priorities and where cuts may have to be made. And get the latest from KPBS delivered right into your inbox. We have a variety of newsletters, and that includes the daily headlines, KPBS Arts, and our streaming picks and our North County focus. Just go to kpbs.org and look for the newsletter section at the top of the screen. From there, you can sign up with your email address. And that's also where you find all of our stories from tonight, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Previs Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.